Hello and welcome to episode 36 of Pacific Horseplayers right here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I am your host, Noah Meagher, and it is just me as of now. We will be joined by one of our regular co-hosts, Jackson Muniz. He's running a little bit late, but he's going to get here soon enough, and we will be joined by a special guest that will be revealed in a few minutes, but he's going to be joining us to talk about the Saratoga opening day late pick 5. That is on Thursday, June 10th, so we're going to be talking about that for you guys tonight. As I see my regular co-host, at least one of them, notably known nowadays as the Honda Handicapper, is joining me. Jackson, coming from the car, saw him not too long ago. He's got the golf hat on. I've got the golf fit on. We were tearing it up this morning. So doing that this morning, get to do the show with you guys this evening, and looking forward to it. Of course, let's get through the peripherals. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. We've got our regular Power Picks tip sheet, over 870 total picks since the beginning of February. Very profitable, over $2 ROI, almost $2.10 there all time. And then you can find out more about us at our website right there, HHHRacingPodcast.com. And I mentioned that because I do want to share this with the viewers. We've got a lot of great stuff going on this summer. Let me get that up on the screen. Give me 1 second here. There we go, right there. Let me get that banner off. That is the main menu to our website, as you can see right there. Pete Visco does a great job, co-host of Picks and Ponies, makes it really easy for you guys to check things out on our end. If you want to subscribe to the great stuff that we've got going on, let me show you. First, if you want to subscribe to Saratoga Power Picks Tip Sheet, Del Mar Power Picks Tip Sheet, I know Jackson and I are very excited about that. That is T-minus 10 days away. The easy way to do that is to click on the banner here. You've got standard, Saratoga only, Del Mar only, and the combo. So you can click on whichever you please, and you can get what you want that way. Makes things easy. In addition to the other stuff that we've got going on, there's a little banner to throw up. I already mentioned the Power Picks for Saratoga and Del Mar. Of course, we've got Saratoga Today shows. I believe our first one will be this Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe Howard, if he's in the chat, can help us out with that. But I believe our first edition is actually, no, I'm going to correct myself. I believe our first edition is Saturday, because Howard Kravitz, our founder and host of Betting and Booze, and Patrick Kunzo, who actually, a little teaser, is going to be coming on in a few minutes. They're going to be up in Saratoga this weekend. Very jealous. Wish I was there. But I believe they're going to be doing a live show Saturday from Saratoga Springs itself. So check into that. Make sure you tune into that show, because we're going to be bringing a lot of great stuff. When we do those live shows, we try to focus a little more on early pick 5s, because typically, kind of like the schedule that we're going to have this week, we're focusing on late pick 5s throughout the weekend. So good stuff there. And then one more thing to promote. We do have another live show. We had our premiere episode. Jackson was on last weekend, our premiere episode of Weekend Warriors, which did great. I was watching it while I was working and chiming in while I could, making my bets and such off of the advice that the boys gave me. We're going to have episode 2 this weekend. A lot of great racing, of course, from Saratoga opening day Thursday. Saturday is headlined by the Grade 1 Diana. So a lot of great racing, especially up in New York. So got to get all that taken care of. We've got some people in the chat that I will mention real quick. Of course, Katie was here. She was here at 2:09 Pacific, which, if my math serves me correct, that is 4 hours and 26 minutes ago, which for her standards, I think that's pretty good. Jackson's shaking his head. He's in shock and awe.
I think your math is wrong, but that's okay.
I don't know if I've seen your name. He says, let the fun begin. Of course, Jim Pilar's our good buddy, is here. Evening all, looking forward to another great show. Tanner Hawkins is here. Terry Frank is here, who I've seen at the top of some leaderboards for some NHC contests. Terry is just rocking it out these days. And then, of course, the boss is here. Hello, everyone. Saturday. Thank you, Howard. Saturday is the first Saratoga Today. Corrected that soon enough. Let's go ahead and get into the handicapping. But before that, I did a little teaser. We got a little special guest to bring on from the East Coast of New Jersey and co-host of Betting and Boozing. We got Patrick Kunzo. Pat, what's going on, my friend?
Hey, guys. How we doing? Glad I can join you, as I have a little something tomorrow night. But when you called me to cover this card, I was ecstatic. So, yeah, no, it's a fun week, knowing I'm going to be heading north. And yeah, you hit it. Saturday, we're going to do the first Saratoga Today show. That's always a fun show to do on those mornings.
Do you know if you're going to be doing it from the gazebo, or are you going to just be doing it from the Airbnb? You have that info yet?
I probably the Airbnb, but that's to be determined. If the boss finds a good spot along the way, maybe we'll pull up a chair and do it from there. But we'll see.
Well, he's definitely going to do his best for sure. Definitely tune into that. But we're going to go ahead and get into the handicapping for the late pick 5 on Thursday opening day. It begins with the race that I'm going to get up on the screen real quick right here. Starts with race 6. Starts at 4:02 Eastern time. Maiden special weight with a purse of $100,000. We've got a field of 10 in the body of the field. And then you've got also eligibles 1A, 11, 12, 13, and 14, which I know we're going to be mentioning because I believe if the 11 draws in, that would be your morning line favorite. That would be your second choice. If the 12 draws in, that would be a major factor in here too. I know Jackson is going to be talking about that one as much as I don't want him to, but we're going to get into the picks. The morning line favorite in the body of the field is the 7, Gracie's Delight, for Rosario and Ward at 3-1. Picks are up on the screen now, and I'm going 10-6-5. Jackson's going with a horse that's not even in the race yet. He's going 12-2-6, and Patrick is going 5-6-4. Before the show, Jackson was begging me to talk about this horse, to mention someone that's probably not going to get into the race. So let's have his glory, Jackson. What are we missing with the 12 if she does draw in?
Yeah, so when the 12 draws in and wins this race, I'm gonna feel real good about it because look, it's a horse that I'm buddies with Will Humphrey, who's basically assistant trainer for Graham Ocean. This is one of the few horses he's mentioned all year that they think she's pretty good, from what I understand. And watching her debut, it actually was pretty good. When you factor in that the motion barn, they're not really trying to win first time out. They just let her go out there, do her thing, and see what she's got. And then they tighten the screws for start number 2. And she was very, very quick out of the gate, dueled with Nana's Love, who looks like a legit turf sprinter, and just got a little tired late. And I thought it was a very encouraging debut for a horse coming out of that barn. And like I said, I think she's going to be much, much fitter for her second career start. She's on the outside. We know she's very quick, and we know that the cutback's not going to hurt her at all. The 5.5 going from 6 to 5.5 should be to her advantage too. So if she does draw in, I think she's one to be very, very interested in. I have a question for you guys though, because I see none of us have the morning line favorite number 7 for Wesley Ward, who's going to take a lot of money. So just a little curious. I mean, I know why I don't like her. Why don't you guys have her anywhere?
Pat, I'll let you go ahead and answer that one first. And actually, you've got the other Ward on top, who I actually think is a little interesting. I've got her in 3rd.
Yeah, with to answer your question, Jackson, with Gracie's Delight, I don't know about you guys, but I just think we'll debut a Keeneland in that 4.5 sprint on the dirt, and I usually like to see showed speed, obviously, but just didn't hang on with it as they usually do. And then second time out, had a couple works in her, and just was kind of threw up another dud. Now, I know de Blasie's a pretty good-looking horse, so I don't want to take that away from her. But I just thought there was more interesting faces, and I think that with the 5, Noah, I'm not sure if you want to say anything about the 7 before I talk about the 5.
Yeah, I definitely will, because I thought the 5 was interesting, and to your point, Jackson, I think I just kind of echo everything that Pat said. It kind of feels like this could be a pretty decent 2-year-old group, and we've kind of seen what the 7 can do. So I think if the 7 runs back to a 62, maybe bumps it up to a 65, I think one of these firsters might pop, and I think there is a decent amount of talent here. So that's why I looked in other directions, and obviously this game's trying to find value here. Sadie Earp, I believe is how you say the 5, Pat. I'll let you talk about her a little bit. Why I liked her was actually, I'll bring it up, especially on the dam side. There's definitely some win early pedigree for sure. You see the dam, she actually rattled off 3 victories in a row to start her career. And then you look down at the bottom, 2 for 4 first timers, 4 for 7 with 2-year-olds. She's actually a sib to a nice horse that Jackson's probably familiar with, Classical Cat, who basically did nothing wrong on the turf. And the one time that he lost on the turf was to Conclude, who won a grade 1 last year. So just a lot of things to like. Pat, you probably saw the works. I know a lot of people are going to be tuning into the workouts that they do give you on DRF. They'll come out Thursday morning. If she's throwing up B's, B pluses, maybe even, I think she's going to take some money. I think it's just a matter of whether you're going to find some value here.
Yeah, that's a good point, Noah, because she worked with Schwarzenegger, who's a 2-year-old for Ward, out of the gate on the 27th, who Ward on, I think that was Sunday when he won a race. He talked, I think it was with Maggie Wolfendale, about that horse, Schwarzenegger, who's been working really well. And I think that, I thought Sadie held her own in that work. So, I'm going to kind of hope, that those workout reports do show some positive signs, because I do think that there's something here, and she should be pretty fast out of the gate.
Yeah, and it looked like she was quicker early than Schwarzenegger. And when I was trying to look it up on EchoBase, I think they bought the horse that she was working with for like $950 or something. So obviously they think highly of that horse, and it's going to be interesting to see what the early pace is, because I think the 5 is pretty fast. We've seen the 7's fast, and then if the 11 or 12 draw in, I know those two are going to be quick. So going to be interesting to see how things play out. It looks like we've all got the 6 Aporia just to her outside in the mix. This is for Pratt. Miguel Clement Jackson, you've got her in 3rd. The Clement philosophy, from what I kind of understand, is they kind of tend to race their 2-year-olds into shape. She's actually been working with the 9. And it looks like she's shown some ability, just whether she's going to be ready first out.
Yeah, and it's definitely noteworthy that she's 4-1 the morning line, and Pratt bothers to ride. I mean, I think there's a lot of good signal on this horse. I agree. I don't know how cranked up she's necessarily going to be, and I agree with what you said earlier. This does feel like a field that has some talent. Like I think this could end up being a pretty deep group of turf horses. I don't know if I necessarily want to settle on a super short price for her, but she's obviously very, very interesting in here, and they paid a lot of money for it.
Yeah, they did. I think they paid $300 for the 9 as well, who we'll briefly mention. But let's go to some others. Let's go back to you, Pat. You've got a bit of a price, I believe, in 3rd, 8-1 on the line for the 4 Cooperation, the French bred. Dylan Davis gets the mount, and Delacour, who you probably know a little more about him than I do, not a familiar face in terms of bringing first-time starters to Saratoga.
No, not at all. And only one I could find when I searched first-time starters for him was one in the last 5 years, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, it does. It is interesting that, Delacour brings this horse, up to Saratoga, who's obviously been training very, very well, as I believe that's Far Hills. I just think this horse is going to show another ton of speed. And, you do wonder, how much early speed there's going to be, but you need a forwardly placed 2-year-old, I believe, out of the gate. So I think she's very interesting. And watch the tote board with her.
Yeah, it's a good thing we get the pleasure of having this as the first race, because we do get to see some odds. Jax, I saw you chuckling. I'm assuming this is the comment you're chuckling. Yeah. Matt says the Honda handicapper strikes again. Patrick, maybe you run outside and jump in your ride. You can be the Porsche picker. That's great. Let's
do you have a Porsche?
No.
You got a Porsche?
Oh, like, damn, all right. I don't know. I was wondering.
You caught me off guard there. I'm like, wait, a Porsche? No.
We got two others to discuss. One of them is the horse that I've actually got on top, and that is Cy-Fair. I believe that's how you say that. That's his Not This Time filly out of an Arch mare. There is some pretty decent breeding here. She, the dam was pretty good, 130,000 in her career. And then the second generation was pretty good. I think the thing that impressed me most was I watched her in the mornings. I thought she looked pretty good. And, Weaver's, perfectly capable first out. I think Velasquez hopping on this 2-year-old that they bought for 185 just not too long ago, back in April, I think is a good sign. Not This Times obviously can do anything. And just a matter of, whether we see B's and B pluses on the workout report on Thursday morning. And, that might sway our opinion a little bit, but I'll definitely be using her on some tickets for sure. And then the last one we'll talk about is the 2 who actually draws the rail with the entry, Jackson, who you've got in the mix. That's the 2 Keto Drink, Twirling Candy, filly, Shug McGahee, another one who doesn't really debut a ton of horses at Saratoga, but talk about a guy that's red hot. You got Junior Alvarado. Leave him off your tickets at will.
Yeah, and if I'm going to take a horse from barn that doesn't necessarily want to win first time out, I want to do it with a horse that's a much better price than a horse like a 6. 10-1, this horse I think makes a lot of sense. She was one that was mentioned. There's always a big DRF article with all the top prospects. And this was one of them mentioned from the Meagher barn. This was one of the horses in there in that article. So I think that was noteworthy too. A lot of turf pedigree, and the work on June the 10th, that one bullet workout out of the gate kind of just jumps off the page because they obviously backed off after that. They knew what they had. They knew they got a pretty quick filly, I think. And the turf workout looked pretty decent too. So I think there's some things to like about this one. But again, this is a race you definitely want to watch the tote and see if you can get any clues. This feels like a really deep race.
Yeah, I don't think the turf workout at Saratoga on the 4th was available on XBTV because I feel like I would have seen it, but looks good. And another one to use. I think this is a pretty wide open race because I think this is a race you'll definitely want to get a price because I think the next two potentially could be a little bit chalky. But I'm going 10-6-5. Jackson's going 12-2-6, and Patrick's going 5-6-4. Let's get the next race up on the screen. The next race is race 7, and there it is right there. It's another maiden special weight. It's $100,000. This is for the 3-year-old fillies, and we've got a bit of a heavy favorite in here. Goes to the 2 Endorse, Irad Ortiz, Todd Pletcher at 8-5 on the morning line, and then a bit of competition for the second choice. You've got the 6 Resurge at 7-2, the 5 Lost Horizon at 4-1, and the 3 Reality Star, another one for Meagher at 9-2. So let's see who we are going with in this race. And I'm going 6-3-5. Jackson's going 6-3-2. And Patrick, a little bit off the beaten path, as your boy Kyle likes to say. He's going 5-1-2. So, Patrick, I'm going to start things with you. You're going with the 5 Lost Horizon, one of a few coming out of the same race who lost to Ragtime, I believe, who came back and flattered that form last weekend.
You like that? You like that horse, Noah?
Second time. I know Charlie likes that horse a lot, but second time certainly can improve and got a big shot in here.
Yeah, I will say I don't know if she got as bad as a trip as the 6 that you guys have, Resurge. But what I will say is I do think she's going to relish the extra ground. She's bred to that, being out of the what was it? A Wildcat. I believe it was Wildcat.
Yeah.
What was the dam? And I just think that she should really appreciate the extra ground in here. And kind of has just some steady works. Nothing too crazy. But Chad has been excellent with this move, stretching them out. He's hitting at like 33% with maiden second time starters from sprint to route. And that's kind of what I'm going to bank off of. And, I'll let you guys talk about your 6 because I do think that Endorse is not an 8-5 favorite.
I think we're in lockstep here, and I like the pick with the 5. I mean, it seems like she can improve. She's only going to appreciate more distance. I think, she was the one that was kind of running on late, and she was wide around the far turn for sure. I think there are certainly some excuses there. I know she had been working with the filly that ran second in there, Philly Freedom, who was a big price that day, but then I think came back and ran second at a short price to Mountain Alvarado. I know it was the 8 horse. I can't remember what her name was, but that was at some point last weekend. So flatters the form a little bit because I think that's a pretty decent animal. But we'll go ahead and move on to the horse to her outside. And Jackson, I know you were talking to me a little bit about this horse. I don't know if it was yesterday. I don't know if it was this morning. But you like this horse. Yeah, probably both. But you like this horse a lot. So go ahead and convince us why.
Yeah, I just really like what I saw on debut. First of all, she was bet more than Ragtime was, and we out of the same barn. We know what Ragtime is at this point. She's a very, very good horse, and obviously someone thought she was better than her at that point in time. And I thought the debut was fine. I mean, she didn't break great. Oh, she didn't really stumble. She just kind of broke slow. And then they just took her straight to the rail. I mean, they went straight to the inside. And then she made a big early move to get back into contention and then just kind of had to pause, try to move again, had to pause. Like, if you watch the head replay, there was like 3 or 4 times where she tried to find daylight and got it briefly and then just didn't like quite, have anywhere to go and just had to try to go around. I thought she ran really well. Had a lot of subtle trouble in that.
Oh, boy.
I think he covered his mic.
He does that a lot. He sounds like he's underwater. Ryan and Jackson always get a kick out of that. Or Ryan and myself.
Oh,
we got you, Jackson. Yeah, you're good.
I lost my train of thought. But the point is, I don't think she ever had clear sailing at any point in this race. Not like okay, she's out in the clear, she can go. And for her debut effort, I thought it was really good. She galloped out well. I think she's been. You're going to talk about how she's training since then. I think she's going to appreciate more ground, and I just liked her a lot more than Endorse, who I thought had a pretty good trip overall, and was really just third best that day. So I really went research a lot more at a much better price, and she's going to be one of my stronger opinions of the day for sure.
And if the winner came out of this race, I really would not be surprised at all, because obviously, like I said earlier, Ragtime flattered the form, and then you see the second choice in that race was Surprise, who came back and won an Indy. So it looks like this is going to be a pretty live race going forward as the meet progresses. But echo everything you said, Jackson. I wasn't keen in so much on the fact that she had maybe subtle trouble first time out. I think she definitely did, but it was more of what I saw in the mornings from her, and she just didn't really fire to my expectations. I mean, she was a second choice in that race, and Endorse was a heavy favorite that day. So it wasn't like, things were up in the air. I think the public liked her. A lot of things to like you've mentioned. So I'm with you. And the last thing I'll mention, she worked, I believe I watched the work on June 27th. She worked with Table Flirt, who I believe is another 3-year-old filly who's kind of like mid to high 70 buyers, and I thought she smoked her. Kind of galloped out, heads out, maybe a little head in front, and then when they made the bend and galloped out, she just took off and showed another gear. I thought it was pretty impressive, and it's another one where if somebody comes out Thursday morning and thought it was a B or B plus work, I'm not going to get anywhere near 7-2, which is a little bit of a shame. So personally, I think Jackson and I are hoping that whoever's doing the clocker doesn't think that was all that good, because I think a lot of people will just kind of key on that and not watch stuff for themselves. But anyway, I do like the 6. Obviously, Jackson is a big fan of the 6, so we can talk about some others. We've talked about the 6, the 5, the 3 we've got in the mix. I think we should probably mention the 2 Endorse before we talk about some others. Definitely the 1 and the 3 we'll mention. But Endorse, I'll go back to you, Pat, because you did mention her. It just kind of seems like in terms of the pace that she got pressured with last time, there's the same horse to her outside that's going to do the same. And then there's another horse that I want to mention. Obviously the 4 might show some speed too, but I think the 8 is in a weird way kind of the key to the race, because it's a Gargan filly who's been off for a long time. She's been working lights out in the mornings. Obviously she's shown a tremendous amount of speed, and Saez hops on. You think Saez is going to, be patient when they're going 2 turns from the outside? Absolutely not. So she's going to show some speed. And I think, things are going to be tough on Endorse. Can she win? Absolutely. 8-5. I want none of it. Pat, what do you say?
I couldn't agree more, right? She was 4-5 in that race on June 6th. She did show some good early speed, which, could be dangerous in here. But she hit a wall in the stretch, guys. I mean, that was very evident. And it just makes me a little concerned about this added distance for her. I know she is a Carlin filly, but I just think that she's not going to appreciate the ground, and for the price that she's going to be, no, thank you.
Yeah, and there's turf sprint pedigree on the bottom side. There are just a lot of holes to poke, I think, and typically you're not necessarily supposed to bet an 8-5 favorite if there are several holes to poke. So
she also got a great trip in there. I mean, she was the one on the outside doing the pressing. There was no one to her outside at any point in that race, and it was not a very fast paced either. I mean, she really had no excuse. I guess you could say it was a good field, but boy, when you're 4-5, you're supposed to run better than that.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. We'll move on to the 1 and the 3. Jackson, I'll let you talk about the 3, because I know both of us do like the 3 Reality Star, who ran 3rd behind Merceau, who's a decent horse or a decent filly for Chad Brown. And I don't know what you saw, but it just kind of seemed like she was really the only one making up any significant ground in that race. It was a sloppy day at Aqueduct, which can tend to be a bit of a conveyor belt. And I think if the 2 goes, if the 8 goes, if things heat up early, I think she's going to be the one that's going to be running on late.
Yeah, I mean, for me, just research is just the way the horse I want coming out of that race. And if I'm looking for someone else in second, I want a fresher face who's not coming out of that race, and actually has some numbers that put her right there. And she's one that is supposed to keep improving with the added distance. I think the 2 turns will do her a lot of good. And I think, she's 9-2, and she's only a couple points slower than your 8-5 favorite. So if you're looking for another alternative, I think she makes plenty of sense in it.
Yeah, and Pat, maybe you can touch on if you're looking for the same angle because you've got the 5 who's coming out of the race, but then your second choice is actually coming from Louisville, Kentucky, and that's the one Lobby Rendezvous. Is that how you say that? With Jose Ortiz, Matt Shire, who I believe had a winner at Saratoga not too long ago, second off the layoff, ran in a decent race at Churchill. And I think could chalk at a decent price. I don't think you should discount her chances at all in a field like this.
No, I don't either. No, I think that her races at Oaklawn are obviously, too slow for, this field. But that race at Churchill, she did add blinkers and Lasix that day. Yeah. And I just thought that race was vastly improved and got a trouble trip watching that replay, breaking a step slow, and did get kind of a little rank. So I just think, that 96 time form fits kind of right in here. And she does draw well on the inside. So with the price that she is, I'll take a chance, root for Marshall Graham and 10 Strike Racing, right?
Oh yeah, no, that would be awesome for sure. And it's a little bit of a bummer that you guys can't get up there in time. Cause if they got this one into the winner's circle, that would be quite the party. I think Marshall would try to play Mr. Brightside at about every bar that he could, right?
Yeah, the Ice House bar, the outdoor one with the band. Yeah, I could picture that, right?
That'd be classic. Obviously, it seems like the L and the B, and by L and B, I mean Lasix and blinkers did wonders last time, and obviously she's able to take a step forward. She could be a force in this race. So, like the pick, we'll move on to the next race. I'm going 6-3-5. Jackson's going 6-3-2, and Patrick's going 5-1-2. The next race that we're going to be talking about is race 8, and I believe it is the feature on the card. There it is right there, race 8, the De La Rose Stakes, which I actually believe this is a split race. This is also the same condition as race 5, which we're not going to be talking about. But race 5 and race 8 are both the De La Rose Stakes, which I don't think I've ever seen before, but I don't make the rules in NYRA. So this is the second. Before? This is the what?
The Oceanside splits every year, man.
Does it?
Del Mar. It used to. For a long, long time it did.
Yeah, you're capping. Second De La Rose Stakes on the day.
I thought you were from the West Coast, bro. It's crazy.
$135,000 purse going a mile on the inner turf, and it's got to be mentioned. The inner turf has been definitely favoring towards speed for sure. I know, Pat, you've definitely keyed in on that, and a lot of people have made it definitely apparent. The Mellon's been a little more fair, but it seems like the inner has helped some speed out for sure. We've got a pretty big favorite in the number 4. Moving on up for Irad Ortiz and Safi Joseph. She's sitting at the board or on the board at 6-5. And then the second choice, the 1 Ozar, all the way to the inside for Dylan Davis and Miguel Clement. Let's get the picks up on the screen. And we are all chalking out, my friends. I'm going 4-5-8. Jackson's going 4-8-3. And Patrick is going 4-7-1. Jackson, I don't really have too much to say, but I do want to ask, there's no way we get 6-5, right?
If we did, that would be an irresponsible wager on my end. I mean, she feels like she could be 2-5 in here.
Oh yeah,
I think.
I mean,
so. Her last 2 races are way better looks on the PPs too. I mean, you go back to the race at Churchill, the rail was not good that day. She was parked in the pocket the entire time and still ran pretty well in that spot. And then you go back to Mint Julep, she was going to be second in there. She wasn't going to be third. She got completely shut off late in the stretch. She would have been a lot closer than the margin will indicate. And the races she ran on paper for those last 2 are both good enough to win in here, and they were a lot better than look on paper too. So if she shows up with anything like she's done her last couple of starts, she's supposed to win this race.
Pat, you got anything creative to add on this heavy favorite?
Not much. I mean, guys, she's going to sit the perfect trip. She's got at least 3 horses that I know want the lead, right? The 2 Do-Gooder and the was it the 8 Spinning Colors?
Yeah.
I mean, those 2 are going to be flying. I mean, Spinning Colors has to go to the lead. That's the only way that horse has won. And I think there's one more that I'm missing that's shown a lot of speed. And I just think that moving on up is just going to be sitting in 3rd or 4th and should just win going away.
Yeah, it seems like if you're going to try to get some value out of this race, you play a double into, you play a double starting, or you do what we're trying to do and beat the 1 for second. We've got the 5 8 and 7 all in second to maybe round out some exactas. Pat, I'll keep it with you because you've got the 7, who's a little bit of a fresh face for Mark Cassidy. That's the 7, Charlotte's Approval, 6-1 on the line, which I was a little bit surprised. I thought that was a little low, but, money could go here, certainly, because, on the stretch out, it looks like she's going to be a little bit closer. Javier is going to have to work out from the outside, but if she gets a pretty good trip, I think she's got a pretty decent shot. Maybe not to win, but certainly to get that runner-up spot.
Yeah, I just thought watching her replays that she does like more distance. I know that race 2 back in October of 24, wasn't very good. But I just think off the layoff at Woodbine, and now Cassie brings her here. Husbands didn't give her the greatest of rides in that race either. I think she's got more to prove, but obviously this is a bit step up in class in here.
Yeah, and maybe she can match that form. She's second off the layoff. I think Cassie always kind of ships with a vengeance, especially from Woodbine, and she's been over here for a little while. After that race on the 14, he kind of got her over here immediately, and they bought her for $1 million. They spent 7 figs on her, so obviously they thought that she was going to do them some good, and maybe she's just kind of coming around at the right time. I think it's an ambitious spot to throw her in, and we'll see what ends up happening on Thursday. Jackson, you've got the 8 in second, Spinning Colors, who I know we all liked in some regard when we did the Wednesday state bred card on Belmont Stakes Festival weekend. It was just a weird scenario where she wasn't really one of the fastest in the race, but it kind of looked on paper like she could get things her own way. And boy, did she. I don't know if that's going to happen this time with the 2, but if it does, I mean, she's certainly dangerous again, right?
Yeah, that's why I have her. I think if you're betting to win in this race on someone other than the favorite, she'd be the one I want on the off chance that she does get the easy lead again. But as you mentioned, it doesn't look like that's likely to happen with the 2 in there. I mean, it very well could. You never know. But if someone's going to do it, it's going to be her. And at 10-1, I think you could do a lot worse than that in this race. But again, for me, it's all the 4 on top.
And she loves Saratoga too. I mean, 3 for 4. Probably not going to be on the win end, but maybe she does, and maybe she surprises. You're going to get a good price on her. The one that I've gotten second is a 5 Fun with Flags, who I know has what I've been watching works and paying attention to stuff on XBTV. I know he's always knows she's been working with some pretty decent fillies. I know before this race at Keeneland is what's the name of the race, Jackson, where the Choicea won but should have got DQ? Jenny Wiley. Yeah, she worked with the 1 horse who should have won the race. Excellent Truth. Thank you.
Oh, she's in the Diana, right?
She might be, yeah. I haven't looked at that field, but I know She Feels Pretty's in there, and then I don't know who else is in there. But she just always worked with nice company. I feel like Chad's always kind of thought a little bit of her. She got a kind of a weird trip last time in the Miss Liberty at Monmouth, but she's second off of a bit of a break. She cuts back in distance, which I think maybe could help her punch, and just one that I think maybe can get a piece of it. I don't think she's super flashy or she's going to threaten the 4 on the win end here, but I think she's maybe a little interesting to run underneath. Let's see. We've got 2 more to mention. Pat, I'll go back to you because you've got the second choice in third, which I totally respect. I just think if you're approaching this race, you got to try to maybe beat this horse in some fashion. And, if you're giving me 6-5 on the 4 and 7-2 on the 1, I'm going to take 6-5 on the 4 all day. But, she's got as good a shot as anyone to get second for sure.
Yeah, I agree. No, the price there is, you don't want to take that. But she fits right in here. Is going to be coming from out of it, I would think. But should like the rail. Has won on the rail in the past. Yeah. But I do completely understand why you guys don't really think she has a chance on the win end. More, underneath.
Yeah, and speaking of underneath, Jackson, you've got the 3. Who will kind of need things to set up her own way. Maybe they, make some adjustments in the track and she comes running late, but she's just a really classy mare and she's been doing it for a long time and wouldn't surprise me if she got the money.
Yeah, and you look at her form and she just continues to get slow pace after slow pace after slow pace, and she's a horse that always does her best running from way out of it. So maybe this is a race where the 2 and 8 go really fast and they just get into her way, it kind of falls apart because she does have some races, in her history that probably don't win, but put her up there in the exotics, and boy, it's hard to ignore anything the Bill Mott barn's throwing out there right now because they're just firing all cylinders.
Yeah, they really are. As I guess it's still 4th of July here in Southern California because I don't know if you guys can hear that siren, but I definitely can. We'll move on to the penultimate race. I'm going 4.58. Jackson's going 4.83, and Patrick is going 4.71. Penultimate race on the opening day to late pick 5 is race 9. And let me get that up on the screen. That's not what I wanted to do. There we go. Race 9 is a starter allowance, $20,000, purse of $58,000. It is 6 furlongs on the main track. And I thought this was a pretty wide open race, even though we only got a field of 8. And the morning line favorite is the 5 Our Liberty Bell for Christopher Elliott and Wayne Potts. Second choice, the 3 Kelly Start at 7-2. Third choice, the 4 Short Shift at 4-1. And the fourth choice, the 6 Despo's Dream for Pratt and Abreu at 9-2. Let's see who we are going with in the penultimate leg. I'm going 3-4-5. Jackson's going 8-6-3, and Patrick is going 5-3-6. So we all got the 3 in there. Mixes of some 5s and some 6s and some other horses in there as well. Jackson, I'll go back to you because you've got a horse that's certainly going to be a price at post time. That's the 8 Spring Magic for Santana and Rodriguez, hoping to spring the upset in the 9th.
Yeah, I think you kind of hit it on the head there when you said this race is wide open for just an 8-horse field. I thought you really could make a decent case for just about anyone. I didn't really want the 5 in here. I was a little concerned she'd be too far back, and the 3 was kind of the one I had my eye on. And then I, looking through the PPs, and the 8-horse beat the 3 last time. And I went back and watched the replay, and I didn't really see any, major excuse as to why the 3 didn't beat the 8 last time. And why can't she do it again? She's got a much better post today. She's been stuck on the rail 3 of her last 4 starts. The race in between that was too far for her. Now she's going to race full of speed. She's going to get that outside stocking trip that she's always done her best at. And, she's 10-1 in here in a race where there's just almost zero separation between some of the favorites and some of the bigger prices in this race. So I think 10-1 is more than a fair price on her. She's going to get the run of the race with that outside post. And I feel pretty good about having her on top.
And I don't mind it. I think maybe the main concern would be, she was 18-1 and she's not really the greatest in terms of consistency. I mean, if you just look at based on numbers, maybe that was a race that she hadn't run in a long time. And, maybe it'll be a little bit tough for her to match that. But I mean, that's kind of embedded in the price, right? I think you're going to get as much as 10-1, maybe even more than that. I think it's a pretty wide open race. And I give credit to David Aragona because I think it's tough to make a morning line here. And even though the 5 is kind of the class of the race, I know Pat's maybe got some concerns, so we'll let him talk about this horse. Pat, 3-1 on the line. Like I said, Elliott and Potts, class of the race, good second last time, good win before that. Just been running in some nice races. Again, the main concern I think with her, Jackson brought it up real briefly, was is she going to be able to get there in time with a cutback to 6?
Yeah, no, that's a valid point. And with the price, I do understand. I just think that the last 2 races they've been solid races. And I know she's, been 8-9-1, but obviously, she's completely dropping in class in here. And the distance, I think she does like, and she's kind of been more forward at this 6 furlong distance, which I do find a little interesting. I don't know if she's fast enough to be as forward as she has been in the past, so she's going to have to sit back. But I think, she should appreciate what looks to be a very fast pace in here.
Yeah, I think it should be. I know the 4 is going to show some speed. I think the 7 should certainly show some speed. Maybe the 1 as well. I think she's definitely a safe bet to kind of get into the money. I think maybe I'd be a bit reluctant to maybe bet her on the win end, but if she maybe floats up 7-2, 4-1, I could see myself putting a couple bucks in her direction for sure. Let's talk about the 3 because Jackson, you were kind of talking about, you were thinking about going in her direction. That's the direction I ended up going. Was second last time and then third in the race that you were mentioning, where your 8 beat her kind of on the square. Just one that's I think can kind of rely on. She's just consistent. Second time in the barn for Steven Shower. I'm not super familiar with this guy, but obviously he's doing things right. He's 32% for the year, and I think it's a big jockey upgrade to Saez, who should have her a little more forward and maybe get the first jump on the 5 and some others.
Yeah, I echo everything you said. I agree 100%. She should be a lot closer. Just the price difference between her and the 8 was just too much for me. I would take the 8 over the 3. But I view her as the one to beat in this race.
No, I totally get it. Pat, you've got her in second. Obviously, we like her in some regard. You got anything to add here?
Yeah, I think that the horse that she lost to last out, she's a little edgy that's a Rudy Rodriguez horse. She's pretty good. She's got some pretty fast, pretty quick numbers. So I know the pace was pretty quick in there, and you would think she should have gotten there. But I don't know. She's not facing that horse today in this race. So I think she's another one that could be picking up the pieces.
Yeah, and actually, Jim Polaris makes a great point. The horse that I've got on top is a 1-for-9 at the distance. I think that's certainly a concern. I think you got to kind of pick and choose your spots here. And obviously, she's not great at the distance, but something that maybe she's more accustomed to. And some of those faulty races, I think maybe just at a higher level. You can see she was in optional 45 where she didn't run well. She's got seconds in N1X company, and then that starter allowance back in January. So I think it's a little give or take on the point, Jim, but totally understand there, and certainly a race where the degree of wide openness is it's a valid point, because I think there are certainly holes to poke in a lot of these runners. So got to pick and choose your spots, Jim. Let's go to a couple others. Jackson, you've got the 6 in second. Pat, you've got the 6 in third. I wasn't a huge fan of the 6, but I totally get it. It's Pratt. She's going to be a decent price, I think, on the board. Jackson, their last 2 races is really nothing wrong with them. Maybe a little slow in terms of numbers, but if she won, I really would not be surprised.
Yeah, and she's another one that probably gets a pretty good trip in here. I mean, the 4 is very, very quick, as is the 7, and the Royal Horse is fast too, and she's one that's going to probably be sitting just off of him. Obviously, he has Pratt, best jockey in the country, going to put her wherever he wants to, and her number. If you're a buyer number user, I mean, she's just every bit as fast as everyone else in here, and 9-2 seems like a pretty good price.
Yeah, I definitely think so for sure. I'm going to disregard that comment from.
I got a question for you guys, just because Jackson, you brought up the point about Pratt being the best jockey in the country. Is he the favorite, you think, for the Saratoga riding title this summer?
Oh, I think this is the first year he's going to actually have a chance at it, because before the last couple of years he hasn't been having the quantity to compete with Irad. This year he may. It's going to depend on how much they're traveling out of town, both of them, because I know Pratt has already said he's gone for the next 2 Saturdays. He's usually gone Pacific Classic, and then they're both usually gone for Kentucky Downs too. So it's going to depend a lot on who's getting the most mounts, I would think.
Fair.
Yeah, I definitely think that's a valid point. Last horse that I'll touch on is the 4 Short Shift. I've got her in second. I actually would like her a lot if it wasn't for the presence of the 7, who we're not really going to touch on, but she's very quick and I think could maybe bother the 4 a little bit. If the 7 wasn't in the race, I would like the 4 a lot. It's Franco and Cox, and I feel like people might just be a little discouraged just because she's, speed and fade against New York breds, but those are some pretty decent New York breds, and some of those races where she's been on the lead and been in hot paces, she's done pretty well. Actually, the boss brings up the question that we were just talking about. Who will win the riding title this year? Irad, Jose, Flavian, Dylan. It's definitely not going to be Dylan. That's no disrespect to Dylan, but he's not even close to those 3 guys. Yeah, I think we just kind of answered that. If it's Irad or Flavian, I think it's going to be a pretty good race this year. But going back to the 4, I think she can be very tough on the front end. And like I said, if the 7 wasn't in the race, I'd like her a lot. But I think the 7 could maybe do a little bit of damage early, and then that would kind of hurt her chances in the last, 16th, 8th of a mile in terms of, the 3 closing, the 5 closing, some other horses that we've talked about for sure. So just wanted to mention her. I think she's got a big shot. But we'll move on to the last race. I'm going 3, 4, 5. Jackson's going 8, 6, 3, and Patrick is going 5, 3, 6. Last race of the day on Thursday is race 10. And boy, I thought this was a very tough race, as we're going to be talking about real quick, as I need to get this up on the screen. There we go. Race 10, claiming 17.5, which is not a level I see a ton, but purse of 36,000. I'll scroll down to the field so you can see it. We've got actually 12 horses in the body if you count the entry of the 1 and 1A, and the morning line favoritism goes to the 7 best impression for Lescano and Philip Serp. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong.
Serpy, you're right.
Serpy. And then
That's great.
we've got the 3 Blue Eyed Scout at 9-2, and then the entry and the 8 at 6-1 vying for third choice. Let's see who we're going with in the last race. We're going in 3 different directions. I'm going 3-7-9. Jackson's going 9-11, and Patrick is going 7-8-2. Pat, I'll go to your direction for the last here. You're going with the big class dropper. It's just a question of, whether this is a drop to win or whether this is a drop to get rid of, my friend. And obviously you're hoping it's one to win.
Yeah. Aren't you guys supposed to be like shaming me for like these picking favorites the last 2 races or something like that? Like, I feel like I've watched
I only do that to your boy Charlie.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, no, listen, best impression. She obviously, like you said, no, is the class here. That last race was pretty bad. And there's no sugarcoating it. But I don't know if she just didn't like the slop. It just there was something going on there, and she's just kind of been out of it in most of her races since she broke her maiden. But I just think second time out for Phil Serpy here, and is going to be able to improve off that. Her speed figures show she's much the best in here. I don't know what type of trip she'll get in here. I mean, I'm hoping it's more forward just because she is better than most of them, but. I don't know, guys. I don't know if how you look at this race, if you're trying to find a closer or something here, but this is a tough one to pinpoint somebody.
Seems go ahead, Jason.
I wish she had been a little bit more competitive in her most recent starts. I know they came against way better, but she's just getting paced. Like, she's just not competitive in those races at all. And I know the numbers came back okay, but it felt like maybe this is just one where she's kind of been just getting dragged along into some better than look numbers. I mean, she's beat 2 horses home her last 3 races.
Yeah. No, and I feel like if you're looking at this card, you kind of have to make a decision for yourself, whether it be, she's just kind of dropping where she belongs, or, something's not quite right. And, sometimes we see that typically with the Pletcher barns. I know Pat would echo this, but, the Pletchers, they got some pretty decent runners, then they drop them for like 12.5 and they run off the screen. I think we saw that once or twice at Saratoga when we were there at the end of July last year. But Serby's, I'm not super familiar with what he does and how he works. So I don't know. I feel like he's a little bit more of someone who would maybe drop just to get them in the appropriate spot. So I'm certainly going to be using her. I think she's definitely the horse to beat if she runs to some numbers that she has in the past. And obviously she's the class of the races. Pat said I've got her second. Let's go to a horse that you've got on top, Jackson. And that is 3 spaces to the outside. That's the 9 Toxic Girl, who I actually like a little bit. Coming in from the turf, didn't do too much running. Maybe one that is going to come from off of it. She's got some decent numbers in there. But what do you like about her?
Yeah, I mean, no surprise in this race. There's a lot of speed, a lot of cheaper speed. All these horses that when they're successful, they do it on the front end. And then you got a big, large field in this race. And a lot of horses blinkers on, too. I think his pace is going to be pretty hot. And this is a horse that's probably going to be coming from a little bit off of it. I also think her last 2 starts were better than they looked. The last race, she actually broke okay. She just had no chance from that outside post. I mean, Kendrick tried to get her forward and realized he was going to be hung 5 or 6 wide and just dragged her to the back. And then that was kind of it. She was wide the whole way around there. Not as bad as it looks. And then the race 2 back, she kind of stumbled and she rushed up. She was dueling for the lead and then kind of got checked out of there a little bit. And all of a sudden she was like 12 lengths back. I don't think she's as slow early as it looks in her last 2 starts on paper. Because we looked before that, she's a lot quicker than that. And, the one time she won, she came from off the pace. And like I said, I think she won't be, I don't think she'll be 10 lengths back again as she was last time. I think she's got improving numbers. And the big thing is she hasn't lost at this level. I mean, a lot of horses in this race have, and that's a red flag to me. I know this isn't the craziest drop in the world, but she got an outside post. She's got Kendrick. I think there's some things to like about her. And she's still just a 3-year-old. She arguably has a lot more upside than a lot of horses in this race. So at 10-1, I feel pretty good about having her on top.
Yeah, no, I think you make great points. I think if the pace does materialize and horses start to get a little leg weary, I think she's, one of the few that you want coming from out of it for sure. Let's go to the horse to her inside, who should be part of the pace, Pat, and that's the 8 Rock Harbor, who did just lose at the level at a bit of a short price there at 1-5, but changing barns, going from Rice to Ferraro. She gets the Bug Boy, and she's going to be close to the lead.
Yeah, he's been Chris Elliott rides really aggressive, which I do like with Rock Harbor here. She needs to get out of the gate and get to the lead here because she's pretty good on the lead. And that's kind of my angle with her. I just think that she's going to be able to, hopefully from the outside, she's going to have to be forward. And I don't know. I'm hoping, the odds that she was last time at this level can kind of prove that she fits into this spot.
Yeah, definitely. And she's going to be one that's part of the pace, as I mentioned. And another one that I think has to be part of the pace is the 3 Blue-Eyed Scout, changing Barnes. Another one for changing from Cox to Ratio de Paz, who I don't think the number on the bottom left does it justice to his stats kind of off the claim. I know it says 8%, but I feel like he's typically better than that. She puts the blinkers on. It just feels like she's maybe the speed of the speed, and if she can kind of outbreak the 8, they're going to kind of have to go and catch her. I think the stretch out maybe will help to slow things down up front, and we'll see how far she can take him. So I'm going with 3 at 9-2. Obviously not a super strong pick, but that's who I ended up landing on. And then one more horse to actually, we'll talk about 2 more. Pat, I'll let you talk about the 2 Dream on Kara at 10-1, and then Jackson, I'll throw it to you to wrap things up with the 11.
Yeah, I think with Dream on Kara, that race on the turf wasn't very good. Obviously a little bit higher level of a race, but I just not there at all. I do think 3-back though. Watching that race, she ran very, very well. Kind of prior to that, and then I just think that she should be able to sit, on the rail hopefully, and kind of get a stalking trip in here. I don't know if she's getting much the best, but I'd play her underneath.
Jackson, anything to mention here or any thoughts on the 11?
No, if it collapses, she could be running on late for sure. A little worried she's 1 for 29, but boy, she should be in the exotics, it feels like.
Yep. Anything on the 11, or you want to get to best bets?
Best bets.
All right. You heard the man.
I really like that 9 in that race, so I don't need to talk about it.
All right. Well, hopefully we see him talk about the 9 in just a few seconds. Best bets, Pat, we'll start with you. I only asked for one. You're going real simple. You're going with a win bet in race 7. You're going on the 5. Lost Horizon, who's coming out of that ragtime race, hoping it's live and hoping you get a decent price there.
Yeah, I'm hoping the stretch out works well for her. Like I said, Chad's numbers are great doing it, but it is a tough spot. And there's a couple in here I'm a little bit worried about. But I think I should get a decent price considering the competition. But this is a fun opening day card. Hopefully the weather holds off and we'll be good to go.
Yeah, should be good. I looked. I think it was a couple hours ago. They're maybe going to get a little bit tonight. Maybe I think it was supposed to be less than half an inch, and then not anymore until after Thursday's card, hopefully. So we can cross our fingers, knock on wood for that. Good luck with your best bet, Pat. Jackson's going with a double, which I think he gave to me about 3 or 4 days ago. Yep. He's going with a double, the 6 Resurge into the 4. Moving on up, what kind of price did we get on that, Jackson?
On the double?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm hoping like 7 or 8 to 1. I'm hoping with playing the double into the favorite that's not as low on the morning line as she probably should be, that you might get a little bit more value out of the double than you normally would. Yeah, but that's a twofold opinion. I think moving up is going to win. She's going to win for fun. She's going to be short price, so going to try to just get a bit of a better win price on Resurge, who I like quite a bit in the race before. So, it's annoying sometimes when your bigger price wins and the big favorite loses, but this is one of those where I feel good about both. So I'm just going to ride it and hope we're right about both of them.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great bet. I actually thought about doing something similar, but we joke on the show about copying picks, and I really didn't
quite a bit, and I sent it to you 4 days ago, like you said. So
yeah, I really couldn't do that because I knew you would not like that. My best bet is actually
so much worse.
It's actually something I don't do a ton, and it's a late pick 5. I just think the sequence is very chalky. I don't, the doubles I don't love. I guess I could play the 6-4 double like Jackson, but I don't know how much I trust the 6. I think the only one I really trust is the 4, which is my lone single in the pick 5. But I'll read the pick 5. I'm going 5, 6, 10, and then I'll add the 11 if the 11 draws into the race. The 11 will probably get in the 12 won't, Jackson. So there you go. And then 3, 5, 6 in the next leg, trying to beat the Pletcher, the number 2 Endorse, I believe is her name. Because it doesn't make any sense financially to play this ticket if the 2 and the 4 win. So got to try to beat one of them. I'm going to try to beat the 2 in the second. Singling, moving on up, and then going 3, 4 in the next leg, and then 3, 7, 9 in the last leg. Jackson, you're making a weird face, but that is $27.50. and he's trying to get some air so we can go ahead and throw up the final banner. Jackson, it's
I would just look at your tape. We're good.
yeah, okay. Getting a little hot in there, so we'll wrap things up. Pat, my prediction was a little bit off. I think you were a little closer than I was, my friend, but it was good to have you on the show. Patrick Kunzo from Benton Boozen. Jackson Muniz, he's got one more thing to say before we close.
Howard wants us to talk about journalism in the Haskell. He wants to know your thoughts.
I want to hear your thoughts.
Oh, I love it. I'm glad he's running back that quickly. He's going to beat that field if he shows up at all. It's not the greatest field ever. What will he do after that? I think he'll come back out west. I think that makes the most sense, right? You go to the Haskell, you hopefully do well, and you win, and you come back and you stay home for your last 2 starts of the year in campaign. Yeah. Unless they're really, really intent, the horse is doing great, and they really want the 3-year-old title, then you go challenge Sovereignty a 3rd time, and then if you beat him there, then you beat him in the Classic, then you're horse of the year again still. And I think that's probably the only way you could possibly be horse of the year at this point, and it just depends what their goals are.
Yeah, no, I think that's well put, and I think they put out the nominations not too long ago, and the Haskell field doesn't look very good. So
I think the 2 biggest horses running against him are Gotsker and Gola Orient, who he smoked in the Preakness, both of them. So
yeah, so those are our thoughts on journalism. Looking forward to seeing him in the Haskell, hopefully sooner than later. But again, Pat, been a pleasure. For Patrick Kunzel and Jackson Muniz, this has been your host, Noah Maher, in episode 36 of Pacific Horseplayers, covering the opening day late pick 5 at the Spa, Saratoga. Pat will be there this weekend, so hopefully, Pat, have a good time there. And, of course, to wrap things up, PHP out.